Hey, what's up? I'm the Zim. This is the Zim video. This is volume 3, part 23 of my rideshare experience video series. I've been a rideshare driver since February 2nd, 2017, and I've been documenting on YouTube what it's been like for me. It's been quite an evolution. If you decide to watch some of the earlier episodes, you can see my general attitude about the job and general philosophies about the job has changed dramatically, which is I find fascinating. Something you can't really experience or know unless you've done the job. So it's pretty cool. So anyways, please subscribe to this channel if you haven't. Trying to continue the YouTube journey and make YouTube more of my life and income stream as well. So your subscription will help me do that. So thanks a lot for that. Don't always plan on doing rideshare shows, so they're going to evolve into creative shows. I'm going to be going to grad school this fall at San Diego State University, and the channel is going to transform into a pretty much 100% creative channel. But for now, I'm rideshare driving, so I'm talking about rideshare. So thanks a lot for joining. I like to start off this show with how much I made. So here's how much I made on Uber. I got $306.26 off of Uber, $49, including $49 in tips on the app from Uber. Did 32 rides, did 17 hours of app on time. So there's Uber. Let's do Lyft. I did $527.98. $65.58 of that was tips on the app, which is pretty great. Did 65 rides, did 26 hours of app on time. So that's, 26 hours on Lyft and 17 on Uber. That total of 33 hours of app on time. Of course, that's overlapping app time. So probably knock off, 2 to 5 hours off of that 32, and that will give you a more accurate representation of how much time I was actively working. That doesn't count devoted to the job working, which a lot of gray areas around how much time it takes to do this job and what is considered working, hourly rates, and all that stuff. It's very complicated and confusing. But total amount of rides I did this week was 97. Total amount of money, as you can see in the heads-up display, is $854.24, because I did get $20 more in cash tips, which came as I only got one $20 cash tip. It's pretty amazing. Not that crazy of a ride, like pretty typical ride, and picked up this girl and she just gave me $20 as a tip, which was pretty amazing. I don't really get that kind of tip, one ride $20 tips very often. So my tip total came to $131.58, which, as you know, if you've been watching these shows and been a part of my rideshare journey with me, the concept tipping is one of the most common things I talk about on this show, on this channel, on rideshare. Like, just the idea of tipping. We don't get enough tips. I don't think people tip enough. But this week for me, I made well over my goal. My hopeful goal is always to make at least $1 per ride, because as a full-time driver, you're typically doing around 100 rides a week, 120 today. Last week I did 97. If I made $97 more dollars, or $1 per ride, at least $1 per ride from every ride, that would be a game changer. That would make the job much more sustainable. And this week it was such the case. I mean, $131 is pretty good. $131.58 is pretty good for tips, considering even my total hours of working was under full time. It was 33 hours. So, of combined app time. So even less than that, like I said, like 30, maybe 30. Let's just say 30. Let's say I worked 30 hours this week of devoted app time to the job. So that's not bad. That's a much more sustainable place than it can be sometimes. So there's that. I did not work on Wednesday, so I worked Monday. So let's do the daily breakdown. This is Uber's daily breakdown. As you can see where I made money. Uber in general this week was just not as good as Lyft. Every once in a while it happens. I just got I managed to get on a run with a bunch of Lyft rides, and I got a bunch of better money on Lyft this week. But anyways, I worked every day this week except for Wednesday because I needed to make up for Wednesday because I wasn't going to work Wednesday. So I worked Monday and Tuesday night, made about $100 there. And then Thursday, Friday, and Saturday each day I made roughly $200 each day there. And then Sunday, I just needed a little bit more to break. My goal these days is to make $800 a week. So I just needed a few more rides to get, so I didn't really work much on Sunday. Let's put on Lyft's daily breakdown. I didn't really work much on Sunday because I just didn't have it in me. Like, as you know, again, as I mentioned at the top of this video, the evolution of doing this job is like, I'm very much like on my way out. I'm on kind of burnout phase. I'm ready for a change. I'm ready for something new, which I said I'll be going to grad school. So my mind is, I'm kind of like in that short timer mode of like, let me just make it till I get to grad school. So I'm not trying to hit it as hard as I used to. Like, as you watched earlier videos of this series, I was grinding my face off, seriously trying to make it, see if I can make this job sustainable. And it's very difficult to make it sustainable in San Diego. So I'm at a point now where I'm just trying to coast it out until I get to grad school. I'll still plan on driving a little bit. I think I've told you before, but I need to make, after all the stuff, the numbers I've crunched, I still need to come up with $1,000 a month, which I can easily do in the car on weekends. You know, one, possibly 2 weekends a month will get me my $1,000 devoted time. 2, I mean, it'd be hard to make it in one, but 2 weekends, 1.5 weekends a month to get my $1,000. So that's that. I think that sums up like how much I made and that kind of thing. So if you want any more questions about how much I made and how I made it, feel free to ask me. Be happy to tell you. Yeah, cool. So let's move on to the next part of the show, which is shout outs and mail time. So because of my rideshare nuggets that I've been posting more often on this channel, I'm trying to do my rideshare nuggets like every day. I'm trying to post something, some concept, idea, thought about the job, 5 minutes, kind of in the 5 minute or less range, because you guys have clearly been engaging with them and liking them. So, and they're fun, and I want to keep my channel growing. So they're just kind of cool. But because of those, the last few weeks I've gotten a lot more people commenting on the rideshare shows in general. So I'd like to give people I haven't seen before comment on any of my shows, on any of my rideshare shows, a little shout out just to say thank you. So this is the list of people: Joseph Onea, Paul Figueroa, I don't know, John Lerner, Freddie Hernandez, AFB Gmail, Cincity Entrepreneur, Donut Planet Studio, Marcel Pereira, Love Show, High RPM, Kevin Greiner. All right, thank you all for commenting on the shows, which was awesome. Now it's mail time, and this is just where I take some comment, thought, or idea from you that you posted either on the comments or you send it in to me. But these ones are both from YouTube, a little bit different this week because the first one comes from Freddie Hernandez, and what he had to say was, "You're stupid lame fuck." And this time I did a screen cap of it instead of doing my own, so you could see that I'm not making this up. And you're thinking, why would you do this? So this is another one. This has less to do with rideshare videos, the rideshare idea, and more to do with YouTube in general. But first of all, is it my? I like the fact that somebody's trying to insult me, yet they are doing it grammatically incorrect, because obviously it's not mine. So it's just funny. I find it massively hilarious that people try to hate on things when they're they do a very bad job of it. The grammar and spelling of this whole situation is very poor, but also it's just the biggest, YouTube's biggest cosmic joke is the fact that it doesn't matter if you don't like it. The fact that you're interacting with it is actually helping. So thank you, Freddie, for interacting with my show and helping my content. So if you really don't like my shows and you really think I don't have anything important or worthwhile saying, you should not watch them, and you should not comment, and you should not interact with them in any way whatsoever. You should block my channel and never look at them again. Because basically on YouTube, your view is your vote, and if you're interacting with it, you're basically voting again. So it just, the fact that you even clicked on my video and watched a moment of it, even on accident or on purpose, you're helping. So thanks a lot for that. And then AFB Gmail. So another one, it's a little different, but it was, I'm not quite clear on, well, anyways, let me just read it to you. Want to be an employee? Get a job. Ride sharing is a gig. I signed up for it. Not anyone's fault. Anyone's behind on bills but their own. Drivers are independent contractors and should not be entitled to employee benefits. If that's what strikers are looking for, they need a 9 to 5. I respect the game as is. All right. So there's a couple things I wanted to talk about in this one because it inspired, basically it just inspired thought for me around the idea of rideshare driving and just our country and our society in general that I just want to talk about for a second. The first thing is, well, there's a lot of things. The first thing is, from my perspective, this kind of comment comes from someone that either A, has lived a very privileged lifestyle and does not have a very good concept of, like a very worldly or very good concept of how the world works, because it's very short-sighted and very unaware, especially in the idea of not anyone's fault, anyone's behind on bills but their own. There is a massive amount of reasons and things why people come into financial hardships. To just blame the person 100% that it's their own fault isn't always accurate. Sure, we can do a lot to help ourselves out, but as we know, this country, there's more poverty in this country than most people realize, especially if you live in the city, especially if you lived a privileged lifestyle, especially if you've been taken care of by your parents or whoever for a long time. There's more and more people nowadays that can't afford to live on their own because housing prices are going up, because the amount that we're getting paid for jobs is not matching the amount of inflation in our country and things like that. So it's like there's an enormous amount of reasons that people get behind on their bills. I mean, I would take myself as an example. I'm a perfect example of I'm behind on my bills. And a big part of that is because I'm a single father and I'm trying to make it work. I'm trying to make it happen. And it's trying to make this job work for me. There's just a lot of factors. It's not, you can't just snap your fingers and decide I'm going to make a job. I'm going to work a job that's going to make me more than I need. That just doesn't happen anymore. There's so many of us that have to live with, our parents or have our parents live with us, which is in my case. And just different things like that. There's a ton of factors that lead to financial hardship. So just to blanket statement that it's their own fault is really frustrating for me. And that's one of the reasons why I wanted to talk about this one, because it's a very short-sighted comment to say it's no one's fault but their own, because I think it's pretty well, if you have any interest in looking outside of your own situation and looking at how this country is as a whole, more people are struggling than not financially. And it's not, and as we know, or if you don't know, credit card companies, people with money and power take advantage and manipulate the system to keep them in power, to keep the haves having more and the have-nots having less and less all the time. The haves and the have-nots, the divide between them just keeps growing wider and wider. and it's yeah. So that just frustrated me that somebody would be that short-sighted to kind of make this type of statement. And then just the whole idea of the independent contractors and what employees want in benefits. I think it's pretty well understood. If you're an independent contractor, you're not getting benefits. So I'm not sure what this person is saying, and I think he's misunderstanding what the strike was all about, which is what I'm going to talk about more in a moment as well. The striking, but it's pretty well understood, I think, that if you're an independent contractor, you don't get benefits. You have to pay for them on your own. But that is the point. The point is the companies Lyft and Uber are not valuing the people doing the job enough to pay them enough so that they can afford their own insurance, afford maintaining their vehicle enough, afford time to take off to go on vacation. There's not enough the amount of money that's coming through the system to pay the drivers to make this sustainable is not enough at this point. It has nothing to do with wanting benefits and whether or not you're an independent contractor, at least from my perspective. So anyways, that's just some thoughts on that. I want to talk about if you have any comments, questions, or ideas, or for me that you would like me to ramble on about, feel free to hit me up on all these places, at RideshareZim on Instagram, _Zim@hotmail.com, and comments on these videos, as these ones were, both comments on the videos. So I will definitely go into them if you'd like. All right, now let's talk about the strike follow-up. So as that last question, came from one of my Rideshare nuggets somebody posted on, because I was talking about the strike a little bit. And then last week, as you know, I talked about the strike. And then so last week, during the week, I thought it would be good to follow up today, because in my car, there was a lot of passengers that were aware of the strike and asking me about it and my thoughts and 2 cents on it. And the biggest thing that came up for me, and I haven't done a ton of research on the internet or anything about the strike as a whole. This is only from talking to passengers, the little bit of influence I have gotten through these videos and through user groups on Facebook about the strike in general. And so the last few weeks I've been talking about it quite a lot. And so this is kind of, a follow-up of those ideas in a lot of ways. And it's just generally, there's a lot of confusion about why we were striking and what the point of the strike was. Because obviously, to me, it can't be, the strike is not intended or couldn't possibly sustain the traditional idea of a strike. Because the traditional idea of a strike is a company, a building, usually a physical building, the employees of that physical space, they're all talking to each other, they all know each other, they all know what's going on, there's some kind of potentially union involved, there's some kind of, there's a communication ability for everybody to be on the same page and understand what's going on, and they pick a date and they go, we're striking, and usually it means they strike until a resolution happens. Our strike, the driver strike, was nothing like that, because there's no way to unify every driver, and then also, just in what I'm hearing, everybody had a different understanding and different thought of why people were striking. Because of the traditional sense of the strike, a lot of my passengers were like, did they get what they wanted? Did they get pay rates better and things like that? But it's like, I never understood that was the point of the strike to begin with. My thought and understanding of the strike has always been to bring awareness that there's something wrong with the system. And then I learned that it was tied to the Uber's initial public offer, which, if there's bad news around something like that, it potentially lowers the price of the stock. I don't know if that happened. Talk of the strike was on the news. My mom brought it up to me Obviously, I've said already, passengers are bringing it up. So people are aware of it. So to me, that's the success. That's what we wanted to happen. We wanted people to become aware that there's something wrong with the system. There's something broken in the system. How to fix it, I have no idea. I never expected, the companies to make any changes based on it. I never clearly expected all drivers to not drive, because the only way a change would ever happen in that way, like an immediate, more, direct change, was if every single driver decided not to drive and there was just no driver. But that's impossible because, as you know already, we've talked about already, there's a lot of drivers out there. Oh, if less drivers are going to be driving, I'm going to go drive because that'll mean more money for me, more rides for me, which makes sense, in some ways. So those are just some of the ideas. So basically, my follow-up today, the idea I wanted to talk about today was just that it's clear that nobody really had the same agenda for what the strike meant, what they were trying to accomplish, and who was willing to do it, and all that stuff. It was way too fractured for anybody to really understand what was going on. But I think it was a success because it got people talking, and maybe I'm just isolated a little bit because I've been talking about it so much, so I hear it a little bit more. But yeah, so that's just my follow up on it. If you have any other thoughts around it that you think would be great to add, feel free to put it in the comments. But basically, that's it for my show today. Thanks for watching. I would love your subscription, like I said at the top. And yeah, until next time, be excellent to each other. And I hope your rides are long, because long rides are where the money's at. Your tips are big, because big tips are what makes the job sustainable. Tipping in general, what makes the job sustainable. Because our base rates are not nearly enough. And peace.